Alright guys, the Nintendo Switch online service launched yesterday, and I got some good news for you guys. I have 2 Switches here, and you're finally able to share digital games with another person and only having 1 copy of it. How do you do it? Any caveats to it? Any issues with it? Let's go ahead and find out.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech, going for a recce is the gaming tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie.
Alright guys, so we're here to obviously talk about Nintendo Switch Online. It just launched last night. I got my system updated to the new 6.0 software, and obviously subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online service. So, we're here to tell you a couple of things. Most importantly, we're here to tell you how to finally game share on the Nintendo Switch. But there's a lot of questions out there right now, a lot of things how it actually works and what doesn't work. And I even found something out literally 40 minutes ago that I don't think anybody knows about that. You guys are definitely going to want to know on how that works, because it's going to, you have to know these things before you're actually going to decide to actually do the digital sharing. So, but before we get into that, I'm just going to really quickly talk about the things that, the Nintendo Switch service is, what it does, and what I think about it really quickly, and things that they need to improve. So, obviously, the biggest thing that they announced that everyone was waiting for is obviously Cloud Backup. Cloud Backup, works as it should. There wasn't any issues. I was surprised to see that, with, I don't know how many people obviously subscribe to the service, but I would have thought there would have been, some slowdowns. The main thing you guys usually see when something comes out for the first time, but the cloud saves, backed up my system, my games as easily as there should. There's an option in there to toggle to do it automatically or to not do it automatically and manually do it yourself, which you can do if you want. It even tells you the last time it's synced right in there when you look at the games and how it compares to your local save if they're synced with each other, so that's nice. It backs up as soon as you open up the game for the first time, as far as I can tell. So you'll see a lot of the games when you first do the update that says waiting for backup, because you have to actually open up the game, and then the first time it opens up, it obviously backs up what's currently on the system. So that's cloud saves. They work as they should. I know everybody obviously wants a way to be able to locally back up their saves some other way, but cloud saves are here, and that's what's important. So if you lose your Switch or something like that, or you access your games from another system, that's there. Second thing they obviously announced is the NES application to be able to play NES games. Now, this, we all knew what was coming. We all know what we want with this, but I was actually pretty impressed with the application itself, which I didn't, obviously most of us didn't know much about until literally yesterday. The NES application obviously installs as soon as you subscribe to the service, and it actually is really fluid and really works well. Basically, the artwork that you see here is really nice. It looks really good on here. They did a really solid job with that. It's really fluid. It really moves quickly. You go in there, and it looks like it's an application. And just to point it out, by the way that this application is built, there's no doubt that they're going to make this application, in my mind, work with Super Nintendo games in the future. Maybe even N64 if we're lucky. Who knows? But there's no way that NES is the only one, because when you go in there, it literally has a separate tab for NES games, and you click on the NES games, and then the library of NES shows up. If this was going to be just NES games, then the app would be called NES, via Virtual Console, or whatever they were going to call it. It wouldn't be called Nintendo Switch Online, NES, when you open it up. So you can tell this is just the NES portion of the app. So I feel like there's, just by the name itself, and some of the things that people have reported with finding icons for the Super Nintendo controllers in the firmware when they dug it out, definitely means that that's coming. So I can't wait for the Super Nintendo for sure, because obviously the games look better and there's more nostalgic factor for me, because that's the system I played with the most. I actually never had an NES back in the day. Surprisingly enough, I started with the Super Nintendo. So, but the NES app actually works really well. You go into the games, they load in literally a second, and you come back and you have 4 save slots per game, which is nice. And you can obviously play the games with other friends on your friends list. For some reason, people thought they were going to have matchmaking with this, and I know why people want it, but they thought they were going to go play with the random. There's no way that if Nintendo's going to build this thing out, and let's say, a year from now we have, I don't know, let's say 50 or 60 or whatever it may be, top NES games, and then eventually they bring Super Nintendo. They're not going to have a system in there that they're going to have matchmaking for every single one of these NES games and every single one of their future Virtual Console games. Because a lot of the times you're not going to be able to find people, because people aren't going to be playing them all the time. It's just how it's going to be. Or it's going to be hard to find matches. It's going to be a lot of work for them for no reason. So obviously, I already kind of figured it was going to be friends only. But the friends only interface works really well. You go in there, you basically just start a lobby, basically. And then your friend can join the lobby that you invite in there, or they go in there. And any game that you then click on that your friend plays. If it is a 2-player game like ice hockey, for example, they can play as player 2, you play as player 1, you're playing ice hockey together. If it's a single-player game like Zelda, they can go in there and watch what you're doing. You can swap controllers, so like you can play and then he can play, like you're passing the controller around. So that's pretty cool, and it has a little cursor on the screen to show you exactly, so you can pinpoint to your partner, like, hey, maybe you should go over here and pinpoint up there, like, I think there's a secret up there, stuff like that. So that's a pretty cool feature, too. So, the application, really good. I hope they expand, the games as fast as possible. I know that they already announced 3 for the next 3 months each, so we know 3 for this month, 3 for November, and 3 for December, and I hope that they get to Super Nintendo sooner rather than later with online play, because that's going to be awesome. The third big thing on there that obviously came with this is the phone app. Now, we all know that, like, we want voice chat natively on the system, but I don't know exactly how that would work unless if it was docked, like it does for Fortnite with wireless headphones, if it's docked using the USB ports or something like that, because there's obviously no, Bluetooth's not enabled on the device, on the Switch, and there's obviously no headphone jack on there, so unless if they physically enable Bluetooth, which there is a Bluetooth chip on there, if they decide to finally turn that on and you can finally use Bluetooth headphones, then maybe. But as it stands now, there's no headphone jack at all. So what we're stuck with is the phone app, and I wish we had options for both. But the phone app actually works really well. I know a lot of people are like, hey, just use Discord, blah, blah, blah. But if you give the phone app a chance, it actually works nicely. And the reason for that is simple. As soon as you start a game that's compatible with this app, and I believe right now it's Mario Kart, Arms, Mario Tennis, and Splatoon. And the first 3 games, surprisingly, all actually, and I didn't expect this, let you talk with random people in all their game modes. So it's not just like your friends that like you're going to be talking to like Splatoon. So hopefully Splatoon adapts the same feature that when you join a random team, you're talking to your team, because that game obviously is what that's built around, to work with your team and stuff like that. But you can actually randomly chat with whoever you're playing with in Mario Kart and Mario Tennis and stuff, and it's really fun to talk to people in Mario Kart and all that stuff. But what makes the app really nice to use is that as soon as you enter a lobby in the game, as soon as you join a bunch of random people, let's say it's a 12-person room, your phone immediately alerts you and says, hey, you can now join this lobby because we see that you're basically playing Mario Kart and you're in a lobby. You click on that and immediately puts you in the lobby and you're talking to everyone else. It works seamlessly every time I've tried it with all the games that are compatible with it. It's instantaneous with that notification. It puts you in there really well. Voice chat works really well. So the system that they're actually using works really well, and it's going to be easier than Discord, to be honest. Unless if you're playing with the same group of friends, then Discord probably makes sense. If you're going to play with the same 3 friends the whole entire night, you're going to rotate between Switch games. Obviously, Discord is better for that. But if you're just looking to talk to random people, the app actually isn't bad at all. Even though I wish that there was native voice chat on the thing to put headphones on like all the other systems, the app is actually pretty well designed as far as how intuitive and easy it is to get to work, and I actually like it. But we all wish that they had the native voice chat. But give the app a chance, and I encourage you to try it out because it actually works pretty good. Things that we actually still want from the system that aren't in this update is obviously backups. We want Super Nintendo games, obviously. We talked about that already. We want backups for all cloud saves because right now there's some games out there like Splatoon that won't let you back up their saves because they're not saving your leaderboard scores and stuff like that aren't being saved to the cloud like Mario Tennis is doing, for example, which does let you back up your cloud saves. Splatoon's storing it locally, and so is Pokemon apparently. So they're afraid that obviously, basically, like for example, Pokemon, you trade a Pokemon away, you load you download your cloud save again, you get that Pokemon back. And then you have the Pokemon that you just traded away back, and you just keep duplicating it over and over again. And that's fine, but that's easily been resolved by other systems. All they need to do is store that stuff on the server side, not locally, and then you wouldn't be able to duplicate this stuff. So hopefully that gets fixed for there's a handful of games that are on there like that. I think it's 10 or less right now. Pokemon being the main one, and Splatoon being the other main one. The other thing we want, that we've been talking about for a while, they really need to let you message your friends on your friends list. That friends list is almost useless right now. You can see what your friends are playing. Sometimes they'll let you use your friends list while you're in a game, like Mario Kart and stuff, which is good. But they really need to let you message your friends to be able to be like, hey, let's play a game at 7 o'clock tonight, whatever the case may be. They need to obviously add folders. I have way too many games on my Switch already because I buy a lot of Switch games, and I need folders. And I think a lot of you guys agree with that. And the last thing to actually personalize your Switch a little bit is themes. Just like the 3DS had, we all really want themes. So those are the things that I really want on the Switch that aren't currently there. Now, what we're here to talk about, and excuse me if I'm looking down at the list here because I don't want to have a list of the instructions on here because it's not complicated, but it needs to be done in a certain way. And I don't want to mess this up for you guys, so you guys get a clear idea on how to actually do this. So, talking about what you guys have been waiting for, yes, you can finally game share very similarly to the Xbox One and the PS4 on the Nintendo Switch. There's two methods that you can do this, and they both reproduce a benefit and a downside depending on which method you choose. Method one is the way I currently have it set up, but you need to hear what the benefit is and what the downside is. So, first of all, the benefit is that you can play any of your Switch games that you personally own on your Switch. Let's say I have my games sitting on Switch A. I can play any of those games offline without any issues. That is method one. So you can play those games offline. You don't need an internet connection or that because they're your games and you own them. That's fine. On the other system that you're sharing with your friend, on his system, the way that it's going to work is he's going to have to be online to be able to use your copies of games. That's fine because it needs to check, who owns them and if the other person's playing it. The issue with that and the downside of that is if you want to play those games online together, you can, but it has to be a different user. You have to have the account signed in on the system. It has to be different than the one that's on the primary. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm on my primary system. I'm playing my game. If I want to play with my friend online and we're both using the same digital copy that we're sharing, I would need to take my Switch and actually log in with his account. So I would select, when you get the pop-up on your Switch saying which account do you want to use, you would actually have to select his account. And then on his Switch, he needs to select yours. And the reason for that is because the primary Switch, the one that is set as your primary, is the one that can play any game that they want without having to be online. But only all the users on that system can play the games. But like I said, only that one on the primary. On your friend's Switch, he needs to be online to be able to see that the games, are not being used or anything like that. But since the Switch, your friend's Switch has to be different than the profile that's signed into yours, that means that you can't sign into, your own profile on here. Because then when he goes and plays it on his Switch, and he tries to use his profile, it's going to say, hey, you don't own this game. And then if he tries to use yours, it's going to come back and say, hey, your friend's already, the owner of this game's already playing it. So in order to trick the system, you need to sign into the primary account with his account, and that's going to let you because anybody on a primary account can log in. And then on his Switch, he logs into yours. And then when the Nintendo service is checking, it's like, all right, one person's playing on the game and the other person's playing the other game. It's the same copy, but two different people are playing it. So Switch okays it, and you can both play online, and that's it. But the caveat there is, like I said, you're flip-flopping whose account you're using on his. So you're kind of getting his ranks up if you're using his Switch. And then he's getting your rank up when he's playing on your Switch. So that's method one, though. And the way that you do method one, just in case you guys need to know, you basically both obviously need to have an online subscription. Both of these methods obviously require an online subscription. You create a user on you take your Switch and you create a user account on it. So you go to user, you create an account, and it's going to ask you to link a Nintendo Switch account to it. So you link your friend's gamer tag onto yours. Then you go onto your friend's, he creates a new user, and he links yours on there. Now what's important is you need to go back onto your Switch, and you need to go into the eShop, and you click on your profile at the top, and you scroll down to the options, and it will say, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it will say primary Switch, or primary Nintendo console. You need to make sure that your Switch, in this case, is the primary. So that is method one. You set your Switch as the primary on your machine. He sets his account as primary on his machine. And that will work with method one that I just told you. Now, method two is one that you guys may like better. It depends, like I said, on your current situation. For me, method one works. For me, method one doesn't work. I think I said that backwards before. Method one is not the method I use. I actually use method two. And this is why. Method two does the opposite effect. So, instead of making my Switch the primary, I have a Switch and my wife has a Switch. I made my account the primary on my wife's Switch. And then my account becomes the secondary. And then my wife is the opposite. My wife now went on my Switch and she made herself the primary on my Switch. And then, vice versa. So we did the opposite effect of method one. But what this does now as a benefit is that now you can use your own account on your Switch. Because now your Switch isn't the primary. So what you would do now to be able to play online together is I would take my Switch, I would log in under my account. It's going to check online connectivity, obviously. And that's going to be fine because I'm online. And there's no issue with that. And then my wife takes the Switch, and she plays the game that, you know, I own, and she's going to log in under her account because it's the primary Switch and anybody's account on there can access it. Very similar to how Xbox works. So now my wife can play on her own account, playing my game online with me, and I can be on my Switch playing with my own account. The caveat to this one, as you may have noticed, is that now your primary Switch, even though it's all the games that you own, you're going to need online connectivity anytime you want to play any of those games. So even if you use a hotspot to connect to your Switch or something like that, it's going to need to verify that you're the owner of those games. So you're going to need online connectivity basically at all times when you're trying to play your Switch, even though you own those games, because you have the other one set as primary. So it depends on which outlook you want to look at and which method suits you better. Method 1, obviously you don't need an online connectivity to play your own games on your Switch like you do now, but when you want to play online and you want to play the same game together, like I said, you're going to be flip-flopping which accounts you're actually using to start those games so the Switch doesn't realize that you're playing the same copy twice, because there's no other way to do it. Method 2 does the reverse effect, and then you can actually play the games with your account on your Switch, and my wife has it on her Switch, which is the way I do it, and I have to have online connectivity on my Switch, and so does my wife, but in my opinion, that's a lesser of the evil, and it makes more sense for me because I have a cell phone. You connect your hotspot for 5 seconds. As soon as you open a game, it pops up saying checking to make sure you can play it, or online connectivity or whatever. Pop-up goes away. Technically, you can turn the hotspot off, and you're done with that, and it lets you play the game until you're done. If you close the game and you try to start another game or that game again, then it's going to obviously you're going to need the hotspot again or online connectivity. So it checks and makes sure, and after it checks, you can technically turn that connectivity off. But if you're online all the time, like if you're at home and stuff like that, that's obviously not going to be an issue. So method 2 might work for you. It works for me because I always have my phone with me, or I'm always connected to some sort of internet most of the time with my Switch anyway. But maybe method 1 is better for you. Now, method 2, the way that you do that, I already told you, make sure that you have your opposite. You have your friend's Switch set as the primary for method 2, and your friend is set as the primary on your Switch, and that will work, and the same steps as the first method. If you guys are confused about any of this, obviously let me know in the comments, and I'll give you detailed descriptions if you guys are confused about how I'm describing it. It's a little confusing to describe, and it's not very easy to show because then I'll be showing password screens and stuff like that, and just a bunch of account information while I'm showing you on the Switch. So verbally telling you is better, but if you have any questions, always leave them down below, and I'll definitely answer any confusion that there is. But the main thing that nobody knows, and that I just figured out literally like 30 minutes before recording this video, is that either method of these does unfortunately come with another caveat. So, like I said, both these methods are great in their own way, and I'm going to continue using it because now I don't have to pay for duplicate copies. In the past, I had to buy 2 copies of Splatoon, 2 copies of Mario Kart, 2 copies of Mario Tennis for me and my wife to play. Online, that is. Now we don't. Now we can play online with either of those 2 methods and we're good to go. We only need 1 copy, and that's it. Buy the digital game and you're golden. Now, the problem is if you guys aren't aware, there's a feature on the Switch called local wireless. I love local wireless. Basically what that means is you don't need any internet connectivity on your Switch, technically. You don't have to be on Wi-Fi or anything. You could be in the middle of nowhere. And it uses the internal chip of the Switch, and you can play these games together. So, before, obviously, I had a copy of Mario Kart digitally. My wife had the hard copy. She would go in there, we would go and join a game, and we would, without any internet connection, play that copy together. Obviously, since you're playing the same copy, it knows that you're playing the same copy. Even though it's 2 different accounts playing it, since you're playing the game offline, I guess Nintendo has some sort of check in there when you're doing local wireless that it realizes that the game is being played twice with the local wireless option, even though it doesn't see that when you're online. Which makes sense because Xbox and PS4 have been letting you do this for forever, and they've never been able to stop this either, and it's been years now. But on local wireless, Nintendo's figured out a way to check it, and it basically comes up with a communication error. Once you make a lobby and your friend tries to join it, local wireless, a communication error comes up. I've tried this with all the Nintendo games that I can think of, even ones that aren't part of the Nintendo Switch voice application, because I thought maybe that was part of it. I tried it with Super Bomberman. I tried it with games that weren't even updated for the system yet. So this is a system level update that Switch has for all local wireless games that none of them work for me. I tried like 8, and they all spit out that same error message. As soon as I stopped sharing that digital copy and I popped in one of my physical cartridges and then the other one was digital, immediately the error message went away and I got right back into the room with local wireless. So obviously that's what it's doing. So there's a caveat. If you're a big fan of local wireless, that's going to be a problem for you. Then you may not be able to use this method. For me, even though I love local wireless, the way that I look at it and maybe this will help you guys out, is going forward for me, if a game only has local wireless as an option, for example, let's take Go Vacation, because that is the only one that I care about currently. It doesn't have online play. So me and my wife can't play that game online. It's only local wireless. So I will keep that copy of the game, because then I'll have a digital copy and she'll have that second one. So we'll have to buy that game twice. But we can play local wireless, you know, anywhere we are at home, and we can play that game together, blah, 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 on our own Switches, if we wanted to. If that's the sort of thing that you're into. If you don't care about that, and all you care about is playing online, well, then local wireless doesn't matter to you, because all the other games, for example, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, all have local wireless. Me and my wife have used it, because that's how we were playing before. So for some of the games, we did, we went on local wireless and we played against each other. For Mario Tennis, we'll take that as an example. But you can easily just go online and set up a friend's room and invite her from your friends list with either of method 1 or 2 that I was talking about. And as long as you have online connectivity, you're good to go, and you can play that game together either with other random people online or just you two, like you were doing with local wireless. The difference is, the difference with this method is obviously you need internet connection as opposed to local wireless that you can use without it. But I'm still not gonna buy 2 copies of every game anymore. I'm only gonna buy 2 copies of games that really interest me and my wife that only have local wireless. So for example, Go Vacation is the only game currently that I own that will do that. Every other game, my wife and me would rather either A, play online, or if we want to play just me and her, like Mario Tennis and stuff, and we want to get a couple matches in, and we're out and about at my aunt's house and stuff like that, and we can't hook it up to a TV to be able to play locally together, because obviously all those games do that, then what you could easily do is you connect your Switches online to whatever network you have close to you, and we go in there, we make a friend's room, and I invite her to the friend's room, we're online, we're playing. It's basically the same as local wireless. Just need an internet connection. Mario, the only other one that I would think that would actually make me want to buy another second copy in this situation is probably Mario Party, coming up here on October 5th. The reason is because it does have that online minigame mode, so me and my wife will be able to play that with just one digital copy. There won't be any issues with that. But if they let you do local wireless with regular Mario Party boards, like, playing the regular 4-player mode where you do the board and stuff like that, and it's not just the minigame mode that they have online like they do currently, then I'm going to probably want to buy a copy of that, because then me and my wife are out and about, and Mario Party is like one of our favorite games. We'll be able to play that game whether we have an internet connection or not. And even if we did have an internet connection, that game only lets you play minigames online. So it's another, kind of thing like Go Vacation is. So those are the only 2 games I could think of that I would care about that don't have don't have actual online play that you can play with, someone else on your friends list that you may want. But I hope that helped everyone out. I know there's a lot of confusion out there, excuse me, I can't speak today. There's a lot of confusion out there today, people going back and forth on this stuff. And that last thing I pointed out, I'm pretty sure hardly anybody out there has realized yet, because probably a lot of people don't use local wireless, and it's been less than 24 hours since this thing came out. So, if you guys have any questions, obviously leave them down below. I'll be answering them as soon as I see them. And if anybody else tests my theory incorrect, as far method 1 and method 2 definitely work. It's been tested by not only me, like 50 times already, making sure that everything still works, but a lot of other people have tested it and it definitely works fine. But if someone else proves me wrong about what I told you about with local wireless, which I don't think you will, because I've tested that a bunch of times too, but if you do, leave them down below and tell me what you did differently to make it work. Maybe maybe it's just a bug, who knows. I really don't think so. I think it's doing exactly what it's intended, so Nintendo doesn't have you owning 1 copy and then playing local wireless with a bunch of your friends. But that's it, guys. I hope this video helped you guys out. And like I said, any questions, leave them down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.
Tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie, gaming tech. Eating brekkie is the gaming tech, going for a recce is the gaming tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie.